Okay, so today we're gonna do the second part of this tutorial. So let us get right into it. It will be more focused about anatomy and some very basic anatomy and just blocking the overall shapes on top of the sculpture that we already have. So let's get right into it. Okay. Let's see here. Where am I gonna start now? Yeah, so let's see. Starting with fixing the curve of the back, because it doesn't seem quite like a curve. I want it more like more perfect, like the silhouette gets more clear. Now I'm just indicating the three parts of the deltoid, the shoulder muscle. It's really important to make sure to connect them kinda towards the armpit, but more towards the chest muscle, so you don't connect them towards the forearm. That's a common mistake. And now I'm just indicating the basic shape of the tricep. You can clearly see how I just create these three shapes that the tricep consists of, or the three basic shapes. Then you got some smaller shapes in width within the tricep, and deltoids, the shoulder muscle, is on top of the tricep, so you need to make sure that the tricep looks like it's underneath the deltoid. That can be a pretty hard thing to do when you sculpt, but it just takes some time. I'm trying to fix the overall shape or the overall hierarchy between deltoid and tricep there, and I always find that pretty tricky. Kill it. Yeah, and now I'm just indicating some back muscles. They're two smaller, but they are pretty important muscles that I indicated right there. Now I'm starting to indicate the trapezius, one of the biggest back muscles. It's really important to create that big mass of the back of the back. Really create all that volume. Now I'm just indicating more of the V shape and the lower back. There I'm also starting to just indicate some light bone structure. Clearly see that. And yeah, and the let's see. Now I'm indicating the chest muscles. It's really important to make them more not as round as you think, and that you create them more rectangular, like they are more box looking. And now Venom doesn't have a nipple, but if you would on especially stronger beef looking dudes, you want to make sure that the nipples are more towards the arms, so they are wider apart from each other, because otherwise it's not gonna look as much as he's really strong, and he's gonna look more feminine. Just indicating some basic shapes. You can clearly see on the arm here how important the lower arm is, and there's a muscle going, yeah, here you can see it. From here to here. Can you see that? But no. That thing that's this like round thing that sticks out there, want that to go all around the arm, and it's really important to get that right in your sculpture. Okay, what's happening now? Okay, good. Okay, so now I'm starting to indicate some more bone structure in the leg, because it's really important to have the bone structure. You always want to indicate bone landmarks, because otherwise it's gonna be really hard to like understand the shape. And on top of the bony landmarks you see here, I'm indicating some muscles. Right now I'm indicating yeah, right there, just some big strong leg muscles. Yeah, it's really important to really make all the leg muscles pop. It's really hard to describe all the different kind of leg muscles, but because I'm not like into these technical names, I'm just studying them and know how they sit. It's more important to know how the overall muscles form around the skeleton than it is to know all the technical names. You can know all technical names and you still might not be able to sculpt, so learn the volume of all the muscles instead of learning all the technical names. Yeah, here I'm just indicating some volume on the foot. It's pretty important. Just keep adding more and more volume to the overall sculpture. Here I'm adding the abs, or like the basic shape. And it's very important to add like the rib cage, because if you don't know where the rib cage is, you don't really know where everything is aligned within the anatomical state. So really important to know your landmark of the skeleton. Yeah, here now I'm just indicating his butt, so it looks more muscular. And we want the butt to look more muscular, make it in like two pieces. You can see it's like in two pieces. One volume on the bottom and one volume on the top. Make sure to like separate them, not too much, but like subtle, so you can see that there are a lot of muscle there. Now I'm just indicating some like basic tendons and stuff like that. Yeah, here is the collarbone. I'm indicating right now. It's really important to indicate this. It's very easy to forget about it, but make sure to indicate it. It goes from the middle of your chest up to between your shoulder, middle of your shoulder, so it's very important to indicate that. The same goes with the scapula on the back. It's really important, because if you don't have those bony landmarks, you're not gonna see the result that you want, most likely. So just keep working at it. Let's see. Yes, and really make sure to use the grab and move tool to really be able to correct all those shapes, to change the proportions in a sculpture, because changing the proportions are really important, that you always try to fix the proportions so they get more like... Venom is a big and strong character, so you want to make sure that you change the proportions so it looks bigger and stronger, and not just... I made a common mistake when I started, that I just basically left it like how I sculpted it. You don't want to do that. You want to keep changing everything all the time. That's gonna give you a way better result. Now I'm trying here to indicate the jaw, but believe it or not, Venom's head shape is a little bit weird, so it's harder than I thought, but I'm doing my best. But I think I basically ending up to just smoothing the face out and tackling it another day. Okay, let's see. And feel free to change the gesture whenever you want, because the gesture is always gonna like improve. And I didn't really explain this thoroughly enough, but I have a distance between the arm and the leg. The arm is gonna be like resting on the knee later on, but I can always just bend it back later, so it looks right. But I wanna start off with just sculpting the muscles, so it's really way more easy to just keep them separated for a moment. And always think about these like proportional shapes, that the lower leg looks kind of like a triangle. It's really slim at the bottom and more thick at the top. So keep in mind to really like exaggerate those forms when you're creating a like really beef dude like Venom. Because this is art, you want to really like exaggerate a lot of the shapes. Okay, let's see here now. I think the overall proportions starting to look pretty good, and I'm starting to get some basic anatomy. I think now I'm starting to work a little bit on the hand here. Yeah, so just indicate where the fingers are gonna be. Very like basic. I don't make the fingers yet. Don't get too like focused in details right now. Just focus on the basic shapes. You can always change the shape later. You can always add more detail, but it's often very hard to like change the basic shapes when you're starting to add detail. Okay, let's see. And I think it's pretty important that the leg was further out than the arms on the sides, so it looks like he really like sitting down on his not his knees, but like he's really sitting down properly. And now I'm smoothing everything out. You see that I sculpted very sharply every single muscle. So now I'm smoothing it out a little bit, just to get the overall shapes of the muscle, so I can see where where they are, so I have the landmarks of the muscles, but then I can keep working at them. And that's often way easier if you just smooth them out, in my opinion. So that's what I did. And you can see on the foot, there's a very exaggerated form. It's all these like really sharp angles. It's an evil character, so make sure to really add those and like, yeah, just make sure that there are a lot of sharp angles. Okay, no. Yeah, but the over proportions is starting to look fine now. It should have some kind of very basic indications of the muscles when you are at this stage, so you know how the anatomy is gonna be. Otherwise, it's gonna be very hard to go forward in a like more like efficient way. It's all about learning the process. So in the start, you're probably not gonna sculpt the anatomy loosely. You're probably just gonna wait until you have higher res version and just indicate them really, really strongly. And make sure that you not indicate every single muscle like super, super sharp. Because even a character like Venom has some fat. And this fat is laying on top of all these like sharp lines that you think are in between the muscles. Fat is laying in between there, and it will make it more smooth. So it doesn't really look like this like really sharp. No, it doesn't exist, so be sure to really take it careful there. So yeah, I'm a little bit tired. Yeah, I'm here indicating the tricep even stronger and just forearm muscles, really trying to create them and get into shape down. It's a lot of work to do anatomy, but it's really cool to see character come to life. The forearm muscles here, and I'm trying to like get the bone structure really like shown there. You can see it's a pretty big like area in between the forearm muscle and the bone there to really get the feeling of that there is anatomy underneath. It really makes just for a nicer and cooler looking sculpture as well. The hands aren't hands and feet. You shouldn't be like rushing to get too much shape in them right away, because you often you need more topology to really get all those fingers in, and may not be worth it to do it right now, you know. You want to wait with that until you have more topology instead of just adding more topology so you can do the fingers. Okay, here I'm just more and more indicating every single muscles very, very strongly. As I said before, I'm taking multiple passes and just sculpting up the muscles and getting all of those to the shapes and forms. It's not so, it's more time consuming than of course it's difficult, but it gets like less and less difficult as time goes on. Yeah, and yeah, And make sure to get that little like cavity in the shoulder here, so you can add a trapezius in the middle. Otherwise it's hard to make it look real. And now I'm really adding the collarbone here more clearly. Yeah, I'm just indicating every single bone structure more and more clearly, so it's easy to see what I'm doing. When you create something, when it's in a pose, it's way more difficult to create anatomy. So if it's like your first time sculpting anatomy, I would recommend, if you're gonna sculpt anatomy on your own, that you really start with the basic like T pose, then not T pose, A pose I recommend, because then the muscles are, it's a more natural pose, and the muscles are laying more natural. Okay, now I'm just indicating the face, but as I said before, I just think I ended up smoothing it all out to just create better head in the end. You can see he got really big and strong muscles in the arms. It's really important to get these wide shoulders with these big strong arms. But it can also be very hard to make him look bigger when everything is so cramped together. So make sure that you indicate where the bones are, so you see how thin the bones are compared to his big and strong muscles. You can see on the forearm, it's thinner, more close to the hand, and thicker towards the upper part of the arm. And that's really, really important. Okay, let's see. Now I'm indicating a very, very weird muscle that goes from kind of like your knee up to the what's the technical name? Wait 1 second, I'm just gonna look it up. Yeah, so goes from knee up to the pelvis, and that's a very important bony landmark. Yeah, and every single muscles go to this, like, or not every single, but a lot of the muscles go, yeah, every single muscle goes to the bone structure, of course, but in the leg, these like big muscles on the, I think it's called thigh, is going towards the pelvis. And it's gonna take some time to just indicate all of this stuff. And there I'm indicating the like bone structure between the foot and the leg. That makes the foot bendable and rotatable. And just keep adding more and more volume. It's really, really important to have reference. I have a reference on PureF, this free software, on the side, and it's really, really important to have a lot of reference so you can see how the muscles look in real life. So when you create a like fantasy character like Venom, that you can look to real life and compare it and make it more real, because the sculpture is gonna look better. Okay, let's see here. Now I'm thinking I'm gonna start like indicating some basic structure in the hands here. No, I'm gonna start with the abs. I indicate very slightly the abs and adding more volume to the rib cage. Adding those small muscles that goes along the rib cage and all this kind of stuff that makes it more photoreal. The sculpture is still very, very early in the creating process. It's all about like refining and building up the volume more and more and making it more look like the reference you got instead of just trying to get through the sculpture as fast as you can. Just keep looking at reference, take your time, just refine your sculpture. Okay. Yeah, I'm starting to add some basic landmark of the foot or the feet. I never really liked creating feet or hands, but they're really important to make the sculpture look like better. It looks really weird if you just every time erase the hand and feet. So here I'm just indicating with some very light strokes that I'm indicating the fingers and the toes. These brush strokes are just so important to just create a kind of like knowledge in your brain that you can see where all of these different shapes are going to be in the end. So yeah, it's really important just to block things in. And yeah, here I'm taking the damn standard brush. I'm indicating the muscles really, really sharply so I can then smooth it out and make it look great. I find this method to be a lot faster than just working up every single volume. Carefully, I like to start more rough. So now I'm just taking the damn standard and really like carving the muscles I want really strong. Like carving them in more like properly and making sure that my anatomy is not on point but starting to come together a little bit at least. You see, it's really important to indicate that like in between the abs and the chest, especially when the chest is that cramped in together. You need to have that separation so you see it's two different muscles and not just one big muscle. It's really important to subtract from your model as well. So don't just add volume, make sure to subtract volume as well. Use all tools that the program uses comes with, because honestly, all techniques are like, go for it. If a technique makes it go faster, but it's not like how most people use sculpt, use your technique. What works best for you, go that way. Like, it's gonna be a lot more fun, and you're gonna learn more if you just try different techniques and all of this different kind of stuff. And here then, the leg muscles, it can be really hard with leg anatomy, especially in the beginning. So you really want to make sure to have a lot of reference, because when his legs is bent together like this, he slowly gets like really, really wide at the top. I thought that was a very interesting shape, so I wanted to really like exaggerate that and make it more a part of my sculpture. exactly the same with forearm. Just keep indicating these muscles and keep working at them, and it's gonna look great in the end. But it can be a lot of work to just learn where to indicate and how to layer the muscles on top of each other, all this different kind of stuff. You can see that I'm going a lot back and forth just to see what I like most. Do I think I like more if the muscles are laid in a specific way or not, or in this other way? Okay, and I'm smoothing everything out, and you can see the anatomy is starting to get there. When you smooth it out, you can really see the shapes. You can see it's starting to look pretty good actually. The shapes are getting there. You have a pretty solid base to work on. Yeah, but it's still, be careful how much you smooth out, because if you smooth out too much, all that work you put in, it's gone. Or not gone, but you can always go back, but it's gonna be like harder to get it to a state where you like it. Okay, but that was everything I got for this tutorial. Hope you like it, hope you learned something. I will see you in the next part of this tutorial. It will be uploading as soon as possible, at least in a couple of days, maybe even this afternoon. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and like, and have a nice day. Bye.